Good.
Here's the truth. You want the truth?
Yep.
Oversaving can cost you a fulfilled life. Your money needs to be, how do I want to use that money? Not just have money to have money. What am I using this money for?
Welcome to Upticks with Jake Falcon, founder and CEO of Falcon Wealth Advisors. In this podcast, we help high net worth individuals overcome financial complexities. We do this by enhancing financial literacy and discussing topics in a language free from industry jargon. Now, on to the show.
Welcome back to Upticks with Jake and Cory. Cory, welcome back to the show.
Jake, thank you for having me.
Cory, I don't know if I've said this before, but I am super excited about today's episode. In fact, I think this might be our best show we've ever done. How about that?
I love it. That's a bold proclamation. I appreciate that coming from you, Jake, and I am committed to making it that.
So a special thank you to our audience, Cory. Our subscriber count continues to grow, our views, downloads, all that stuff. So if you're watching or listening to Upticks and you think it's any good, please give us a 5-star review, thumbs up, all that good stuff. Cory, the people aren't here for commercials. They're here to talk about our topics. So you want to dive into it?
Yes. 4 signs, Jake, that you're saving too much for retirement.
Oh, look at that. I was going to say it, but you want to be the host today. All right.
I thought you wanted me to dive into it.
All right, Cory.
I was trying to pick up on your cues.
All right. Yeah, that's right. 4 signs you're saving too much for retirement. How many financial advisors, Cory, do you think you talk about this? They don't. They don't talk about this very often. So
not very common.
Believe it or not, Cory, there is such a thing as saving too much for retirement. Doesn't that sound crazy to you?
It does. I agree with it, even though it sounds crazy.
I agree with it today, and it's far more common actually than you think. And so today, you and I are going to break down the situation here. We're going to give some real-world examples, and we're going to talk about 4 signs of you potentially saving too much for retirement. But you know what, though? Here's the issue. There's a problem here. But by saving too much, it actually could be costing you big time. And I'll tell you why. So that the key here is that there's many high achievers, Cory, out there that they have this big fear of running out of money before they run out of life. And I would argue, we talk about this for years, you and I have, that's actually Americans' number 1 fear or number 2 fear. I think number 1 was public speaking, which whatever. But number 2 is running out of money in retirement. And that's people's fear. And that's why these high achievers, they save aggressively, Cory, even when they don't necessarily need to. And this is what it costs them, their dreams. They defer their dreams. So let's say they always wanted to buy that car, Cory, or like you, remodel their kitchen, but they put it off for decades. Or let's say they wanted to go on a cruise to Alaska, but they never take the trip.
Yeah.
It's sad. And then even on top of all that, they actually could be creating unnecessary tax burdens on themselves and their loved ones. Do you have any thoughts on this? This is the real problem here.
Yeah, I think so. Here's what I think, Jake. I think that actually framing this as saving too much money for retirement is the right way to do it, because I think we're talking about a lot of different pieces here. And like, I'll be the first to admit, Jake, I've been guilty of telling someone in reviewing their financial plan, saving more money for retirement is not going to hurt your plan. Right? I've said that before. And I stand by that statement. But you need to understand what you're saving the money for. And I think that everything you're talking about is sort of like people need to feel like they've earned the right to spend that money, or they've earned the right to actually go and do the things they've wanted to do. Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, I don't know, Cory, but here's the good news. Here's the opportunity. What if you could live now without jeopardizing your future?
That sounds pretty exciting.
What if you are smarter with your savings and it allowed you to have balance? It allowed you, Cory, to go on that cruise or buy that car or kitchen remodel and still be able to retire on time with plenty of money to last you the rest of your life. To me, that is the exciting opportunity that we have in front of us today by this challenge.
Good.
What are your thoughts on that?
That's solid, because I think what you're actually talking about, Jake, in my opinion, is even deeper than just, working or retirement. It's about sort of building your life and building your financial plan and your saving strategy so you have a fulfilling life and you can achieve what it is that you want. But I do think it's interesting the way that you put it, though, because I think you're absolutely right. I think that a lot of people work and save and put things off out of fear. Maybe they just a lack of alignment, not entirely sure what's clear to them or what's important to them. Maybe I'm speculating here, but I think that sounds really exciting.
Yes. So let's talk. I want to talk
Let's
about
do
this. Let's talk about two real world examples. And you've got one. Now I want to keep the people anonymous, right? Obviously, Cory, but you and I actually were talking about this yesterday in my office. Do you remember what you talked about?
Give me a little bit more context. We talked about a lot
We
yesterday,
did talk
Jake.
about. No,
We
we
do. We
did.
talk about a lot all the time.
Yeah, we did talk. So I'm gonna keep it anonymous. But you mentioned how this person's not a client, but that they bought a lake house. So tell me about that story, not about the personal piece of their lives, because I want to keep it anonymous, but talk about from a planning perspective. You mentioned to me, it struck a chord with me, something about this person doing this. So why don't you explain this to our audience?
Yeah. So I was talking with Jake yesterday.
Yeah,
I was
you were
with
talking
you.
with me. I already said that.
See, about this lake house and about someone that really sort of viewed their station in life, the position they've put themselves in. They've saved and invested and retired comfortably, and viewed, really buying a lake house for family members, for friends, for people to be able to enjoy as something really fulfilling, as opposed to just, leaving more money to their family when they're gone. And I think the comment, Jake, that maybe the comment that I made to you yesterday, that struck a chord was that, like, I have a lot of admiration and respect for someone in that position because they know what's important to them. And I think that's somebody who's not holding back from pulling the trigger on the things that are aligned with what they really care about in the first place, why they worked so hard and why they saved the money.
That's not what struck the chord. You know what struck the chord?
Let's hear it.
You struck the chord with me when you said you noticed the look on this person's face when they looked around and noticed that their family was enjoying the opportunity for him to share the fruits of his labor with his family now. Right? That's what struck a chord with me, Cory. That's what matters, is that this person, from what you know, he's not a client, so you don't know all the intricacies of his financial plan.
Correct.
But clearly he has an advisor and he planned on this. And your comment was like, he's got enough money. So does he want to make memories or have experiences with his family and his friends? And you noticed the look on, you felt his feeling.
Yep.
And do you remember what you told me?
What did I tell you?
You don't
I think
remember
you do.
what you say, Cory.
I think you do.
You said, I want that feeling.
Yes, that I remember.
You said, Jake, I've never had that feeling.
That's right.
You said, Jake, this was so powerful. I can't believe you don't remember the power you have in your comments, Cory. You said, I have never witnessed that. And I really appreciated that. And I thought that was so cool.
Well,
That struck a chord with me.
I'm glad it did. I feel a little
You don't remember what you
embarrassed.
say.
Yeah, I remember what I said. I talked about a lot of things with you yesterday. But
you should remember the important. The other stuff was all garbage. This was important, what you talked about.
All right,
locked in. Important, Cory. All right, I got another real world example. This is from a client and more water related. That doesn't have to do with a lake, but they put a pool in. Him and his wife put a pool in their backyard. That aren't cheap, Cory, by the way. I'm looking at doing the same thing.
Yeah,
but
you're right.
Rachel and I punted that one because it's ridiculously expensive just to do anything right now. But anyways, so, his financial plan is in good shape. This is what I'm talking about, balance. He didn't have to delay his retirement. He didn't have to change anything. We put it in the plan. He budgeted accordingly. It's like very expensive. And you know what? His kids are grown and gone, and he still did it for him and his wife. And you know what? When his kids come visit them, I'm sure they enjoy the pool. And I'm sure he's had pool parties with friends. And so this is an example of having balance, Cory, of the opportunity that he can have a financial plan. He can have a well thought out investment portfolio, and he can put a pool in and still not jeopardize that retirement. That's what I'm talking about here. That's the opportunity to overcome this challenge of oversaving, because I think, and I'm not faulting you for saying, you can never save enough for retirement. I think that's a very common statement. And one of mine is save early and save often, right? But my point is, you shouldn't be saving money for and living an unfulfilled life. Because then you've got a problem, right? Because then, and I'm talking about the higher achievers. Now, some people, they don't save enough money and they need to save more. That's not who today's show's for, Cory. It's for people that are saving too much, that are higher achievers, and they've overfunded their retirement and they're living a miserable life. And you know who you are if you're watching or listening to this. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I think we're all guilty of that in some instance, right?
It's kind of like sorry, Jake, go ahead.
Go ahead. Interrupt.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to say, it's kind of like you're saving money because you're saving and investing because it's what you're supposed to do. but it's
Right.
not because you know what that money's for. And we're talking about knowing what that money's for.
Exactly, Cory. That's the kicker. People save blindly, not even knowing what they're saving for. Every dollar you put away should have a very specific goal and future use date, right? Think about milk. I don't drink like a milk, but think about a use by date.
Exactly. Yep,
right?
I agree.
You don't just go buy 6 gallons of milk without knowing that you've got to consume that milk by X amount of days. You can over purchase milk. That's what we're getting at. You can overfund your retirement.
That's right.
So that's good, Cory. Now, I want to get into the 4 signs, but first, a quick commercial, Cory. So thank you, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, for all of our viewers and our audience tuning in. The whole point of Upticks is to enhance financial literacy. This show is not advice, but we just want to get you thinking, right? We want to get you thinking more about retirement planning and investments and all of the things that Cory and I are so passionate about. If you do like our content, please give us a 5-star thumbs up. I think that helps the algorithm get our content in front of more people. Also, if you like our content and you want more, please feel free to follow along. Follow me on Instagram. It's simply Jake_Falcon_CRPC. And Cory's is Cory Bittner, KC. Cory, you have anything else to add to our quick commercial break?
Nope, that's good. Thank you.
All right, Cory, do you have the 4 signs that I sent over to you last night?
I do. I've got the 4 signs right in front of me, Jake.
Well, you being my guest, I'll let you kick off with number 1 then. Go ahead. You just kind of brought it up already, but go ahead.
Yeah. So the maxing out the accounts with no clear goal for the money.
Yes.
Basically it is, stuffing money, Jake. That's the word I'll use, into every account that you can, 401k, IRA, HSA, brokerage account, but not really knowing what that money's for. And it's not wrong that you're saving. It's really that you're disconnected from what you're saving for. And I think that why is what helps people, get aligned.
Do you have clients that do this?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you do this yourself?
Kind of.
Yeah, I do. I just noticed it. I opened a health savings account because I pound the table on how powerful of an account they are. And I know that probably Rachel and I will use it at some point for our health, but I don't have a specific goal in mind. So that's something I need to work on. So again, we're guilty of this ourselves, right? That's my point.
Yeah. So real quick,
there's no shame in this.
Exactly. So, but you're doing that because it's wise to do. Right. The advantages, that there's benefit to doing it. But again, having the goal attached to it, which maybe you could say, Jake, that, paying for healthcare in retirement is the goal. I don't know if you can keep it that simple or not, but.
No, I'm going to challenge our planners to give me a number. I'm going to say, what number do I need to get that account to? That's what really needs to happen. If they say get it to 100,000, Jake, and then you're good, then I'll know. It's just like a college savings.
Yep.
Like, are you doing that for Daisy yet?
Nope.
What are you waiting on?
Nothing. Maybe until I know exactly what the goal is.
But there you go, Cory.
Yeah,
so again, I think getting a 529, doing the projection, saying, boom, here we go. If she doesn't need it, we can convert it to a Roth, yada, 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 doing all those things. All right. So number 1, maxing out your savings without a goal. Cory, shame on you, shame on me. But again, there's no shame. It's just what's going on.
Yeah, right.
All right. Number 2, Cory, is working longer than necessary. And this is for that fear of running out of money, or fear of purpose, or fear of health. Like, there's a lot of reasons that people work longer than necessary. But I'm just saying today, that is a sign that you may be overfunding your retirement. And it's okay. If you're fearful because you don't know what you're going to do with that time, then that's okay. I'm not suggesting you need to go run out and retire tomorrow, but that is a sign. It would be working longer than necessary is a sign that you're overfunding that retirement. Cory, what about number 3?
Yeah, number 3 would be you're overly conservative with spending, which is, ultimately that's even on the things that bring you joy. Kind of going back to the lake house that we talked about earlier, Jake.
Yeah, this would be like me playing cheap golf balls. I buy some of the most expensive golf balls, Cory, because I think I can get another 3 yards from that golf ball, or it'll go that much straighter. So again, but I don't play cheap golf balls because I love golf. It brings me a lot of joy. So why would I be cheap on something that brings me joy? Are you cheap anywhere where you shouldn't be cheap?
Yes, actually.
Let's hear it.
So mine, Jake, you're going to love this. This would be my wardrobe and my attire outside the office.
Yeah, hopefully not at work, Cory. I don't want you wearing cheap suits.
Not here. It's outside of here because I come to this office every day. I wear suits every day. Yeah, no, my wife laughs at me when we pack like this. A few weeks ago, we were going to Chicago just for a long weekend. There's because it's like every shirt and pair of jeans that I have that I packed or whatever it might be, Jake, at least 5 years old.
Good for you, Cory.
But that is an area where the truth is that I feel a little disconnected because I wear a nice suit every day. I'm very focused on that. But at home, it's like, yeah, just, pull whatever Brooks Brothers t-shirt out from 10 years ago. It's red. It's the 4th of July. I'll wear that again. Like maybe, just maybe I could upgrade that a little bit. So
you get yourself a personal stylist, Cory. That's what you need.
That's maybe. I don't know. Again, the question really is what I value. And maybe that's why I haven't.
That's okay, actually.
Maybe that's why I've been cheap there. I don't know.
Does dressing nicely bring you joy?
It does.
Then yes, then there is a disconnect.
It does.
It does. There's a disconnect. All right, good. And then our fourth sign, Cory, is that you're actually going to have higher taxes in retirement. I don't want to be so bold to say that no one should have increased taxes in retirement, but it is a clear sign that if you're putting too much away in that 401k, and let's say you're in the 24% bracket, and by the time you need to hit required minimum distributions, you're going to jump up to the 39 or whatever it is percent bracket, Cory. That's a real problem. That means you're overfunding the 401k, and you may need to look at doing a Roth or a brokerage or something else, but that is a sign. These are all signs that you're overfunding. So if you fall, and funny, Cory, you and I do this for a living, and we kind of can drift in a couple of these categories. So again,
absolutely,
this just means that we have more work to do on our plan. And for me to sit here and be a wealth advisor and claim that my plan is perfect is silly. I think my plan is a lot more solid than a lot of Americans because I do put a lot of work and effort into it. But there's always ways to improve, and these are ways to improve. So again, 4 signs that you are overfunding that retirement goal. All right, Cory, you ever watch that show Mythbusters?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, it's been a while, but yes.
Little new part this week. So the myth is your myth, Cory.
All right.
Your myth is you say you can never save too much. So my question to you, I'm challenging you to become a better advisor today, Cory. Are you going to keep telling people that?
No. I want to be clear, though, that is not what I have said.
Okay.
I do want to be clear. No, what I said was saving more money for retirement won't hurt your financial plan, which we can deconstruct that, but that's what my statement has been.
I think that can, though.
Okay. That's fair.
But that's
different than me saying you can never save too much. Maybe not.
Okay, that's close enough. Close enough. Here's the truth,
I can live
Cory.
with that. Good.
Here's the truth. You want the truth?
Yep.
Oversaving can cost you a fulfilled life. And retirement is not only about your time, it's also about your money. So it's how do you use your money and how do you use your time? You've heard our audience has heard me talk about this a lot on the show about what do you want retirement should be, what do you want to trade your time doing? Right? Do you not want to be, working at your corporation for 40, 50 hours a week? What are you going to do with that 40, 50 hours a week? My point is your money needs to be, how do I want to use that money? Not just have money to have money. What am I using this money for? So I would argue, Cory, your myth is busted. You can save too much for retirement because we just talked about it. You could be creating a tax problem.
You could. Absolutely.
So the key, what we want to help our audience do is we want to get aligned not only with your time. You and I talk a lot about time on the show, but what are you going to use that money for that you're putting away? What is the goal for that money? It's good,
yeah, it's
Cory.
good.
Go ahead.
It's a good challenge, Jake, because I think that forces actually somebody to get down to what really matters. And I think that it is saving, overfunding retirement, even a sense of accomplishment that comes for people in their careers and what they do, whatever it might be. Like, I just think that all of that can sometimes help to just kind of hold things over until you finally reach the point where it's like, what am I doing all this? What am I saving all this money for? Like, I think we can get so wrapped up in that it's difficult for people, especially for people that are high achievers, that are trying to do all of the right things. It's hard for them to make that transition and say, okay, you've done the right things for long enough. Now we need to get focused on what's important here and what really matters, other than just doing all of the right things.
Yeah. And let's be clear, as we kind of continue to recap what we've talked about, because we've talked about a lot pretty quickly here, is that don't be ashamed. Oversaving is very, very, very common. In fact, Cory, you and I do. Actually, maybe you do it. I'm doing it in my health savings account probably. You haven't done the 529 yet, but I'm sure you're doing it somewhere probably, aren't you?
Not an issue this year with a new kitchen, but yes, to your point, right. Yes, I am.
But here's the opportunity, Cory. We have an opportunity, like you just mentioned, is to get aligned. Get aligned with your purpose, your time, and what are you putting those dollars away for? And let's get aligned with that. And I get it. From the very beginning, I talked about I think the reason people oversave, Cory, this is my best guess, is that the fear, right? The fear of running
Totally.
out of money, like I talked about at the beginning of today's episode, is that, and again, there's uncertainty. So even if we invest your money, there is no guarantee that your money's going to grow. So that's why I think people do oversave. But my point of today's show is that you can get carried away with it. And the 4 signs are, again, if you're maxing out your retirement, but you have no clue, Cory, how much money you need in retirement, that may be a sign that you're oversaving. If you're working until 70 and you don't really know why you're working till 70, that's another sign that you're oversaving for retirement. You, Cory, if you value, like I love wearing, I have nice clothes. I don't have a lot of clothes. I'm not talking about my suits. I'm talking about like at home.
Yeah.
Actually, I have too many golf shirts.
You've got a lot of golf polos.
I do have way too many golf polos. You should see my closet. It's ridiculous how many golf polos I buy. Anyways, but I wear nice clothes because I do value nice clothes too. Like I don't have the very, very top designer, but I buy good quality clothes that last. But I do value that. So again, I'm not cheap, and I buy nice golf balls. And then again, if you are creating a future tax issue by putting too much money in your retirement, that is a sign that you are over saving. So again, these are all problems that we at Falcon Wealth Advisors can help you address. And the key thing to help you address this, Cory, is having a clear financial plan. So I have a clear financial plan as it pertains to my retirement, Cory. I don't have one, though, as it pertains to my health savings account. So even though my health savings account is added to my plan, I'm going to challenge our planners at my next review, because I let them do the reviews with me, is that I'm going to challenge them to say, hey, how much money do you think you need in here, Jake? Let's get a savings plan for this account so you don't overfund it and create an issue for yourself later. And that's what we want to do with all of our clients. So if you fall in one of these 1 of 4 categories, let's have a conversation, let's meet, and let's go over it. And let's address it. And maybe we'll make your financial plan that much more clear, Cory. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think that I appreciate your challenging what you're already doing, yourself, as far as the health savings account goes, because I think that's the way that we can get better. I think that people are probably surprised to hear people that do what we do say, yes, you could save too much money and it can create issues. I think that might be surprising for some people to hear. But I also think that, again, attaching a real goal to it. And let me, if I may, Jake, just kind of get into this for a moment. Like, we are just about done with this kitchen project. It's been going on for 2 months, right? As people know, a new kitchen's not cheap. We didn't blow out any walls, but we redid the whole thing. And this was something, Jake, that Cassie and I have talked about since we bought the house 5 years ago. But we've waited. And I fully recognized early this year that it's like we could wait 5 or 10 more years before we do this project, because I feel good about seeing the dollars stack up in the account that's eventually supposed to pay for this project. But like, if I can't pull the trigger to actually spend that money when the time comes, then I've got a problem.
Right. So I'm glad you did it and didn't wait longer.
Yes, but it's a matter of getting down to what's important. But I think that actually being able to do that can be freeing for people, because and the same is true for people when they're thinking about retirement. Like, I think people's ability to spend money, whether it's before or after they retire, it of course is all connected, but it really comes down to why you're saving that money in the first place. And I'm only speaking this from a place of like, it could have been very seductive for me to be like, you know what? I feel good. Our kitchen's fine. We've got money. We're saving. We're on a good path. But we would just be over saving for something and depriving ourselves of what we've wanted.
Right.
In our house, where we're raising our daughter and our family. Like, that's real.
It's good. Now you can open that 529, Cory. All right. Here's the call to action, though, for today's show, Cory, is that to our audience, if anything that Cory and I talked about today made you stop and pause and wonder, you know what? I am doing that, Jake. Or you know what? I have thought about that. Then let's talk. Let's set up a meeting. We don't want anyone to wait to enjoy their lives. Just like you said, Cory, you could be 40 years old before you had that kitchen done. And instead, you're in your mid-30s and you're going to have a new kitchen.
That's right.
Which is awesome.
Thank you.
And your daughter's only going to remember a nice new kitchen.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
So she's going to get to grow up in that. And so you're going to make memories of that. You're going to make great food for that, healthy food, and do all the things you want to do with your house that you guys love so much. So again, if any of this resonated with you all, just simply email our communications director, Luke, Luke at falconwealthadvisors.com. Luke will make sure he gets you directed to the right person on our team, whether it's me, Cory, one of our financial planners, and let's talk. Let's have this conversation and let's unpack one of those issues that you have, that challenge, and let's get a clearer path to your financial plan. Because again, we don't want you to wait to enjoy your life. Speaking of life, Cory, as we wrap up today's episode, do you have any other personal items you want to share?
My kitchen's almost done. I've shared that. How about
Talk about
you,
this
Jake?
kitchen too much, Cory. I'm sick of the
How
kitchen.
about you?
So
I want to hear from you.
I got something. So my alma mater, for those that don't know, I attended the University of Texas at San Antonio. Very strong institution. In fact, I like that institution so much, Cory. I don't know if people know this. Earlier this year, I taught an honors college program called a guided experience, where I took these students, these really bright students, Cory, through a full immersion of of wealth management is, both on a client and an advisor side. I had a lot of fun doing that. But from an athletic standpoint, my alma mater, Cory, they just took down the University of Texas, the number 2 ranked baseball team in the country, to move on to the super regional. As it stands today, I think they're going to be playing UCLA in LA. If they can beat them in a series, best 2 out of 3, Cory, my school will be in the College World Series. How about that?
That's pretty awesome. Are you going to go?
Maybe.
If that happens?
If my schedule aligns, absolutely I will go. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I got to be the adult here. But if I can make it happen, I will go. But we'll see. I think they play this weekend. So this show will probably be out on Thursday or Friday. It'll probably be out this weekend. So I'll be watching. It's so stupid though, Cory. I think I watched Saturday night's game. Cory, was 5 hours.
Yeah.
5
Yeah, it's good you're
hours.
invested in the outcome.
Well, I was also probably reading emails and doing, whatever. So I wasn't like just sitting there staring.
It's a
at
long
TV.
game.
Stupid. They
That's
need a
really
pitch
long.
clock. They need a pitch clock. They need something. College baseball, it shouldn't be that long. I get it. It's a big game for these kids, but like 5 hours, 9 innings.
It's a long time.
Too long. Anyways, that's what's going on with me. So, Cory, as always, thank you for joining me on this week's episode of Upticks. I'm glad you announced the show. I guess you were trying to take it over, but thank you for being my permanent guest.
You're welcome.
And thank you all for tuning in. We hope you have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Upticks. Click the subscribe button to be notified when new episodes become available. Also, be sure to visit our website, falconwealthadvisors.com, and click the Contact Us button if you'd like to meet with Jake and his team.